Mr. Day, we're going to head back out to hear from the voters. This one is from Connie, and she's got a question about Rockland County roads.
My name is Connie. I'm from Pomona, New York. My question for the candidates would be, how would you fix our roads, our infrastructure, especially in New City on Hempstead Road? It's been going on for a long time.
Very specific question about the roads. Mr. Day, you will have 1 minute to respond to that question from Connie.
Okay, I think Connie must know I'm the legislator, share that street with Legislator Carey. I have at many meetings, Connie, that road is a $30 million plus project. It has loosened a few of my teeth over this period of time, but it's slated to be done by the end of the year. Frankly, I believe it'll be done probably in the spring. So the end is near, thankfully. How do you deal with the rest of the roads? Precisely the way I've spoken about since I entered this campaign. Government's job is not to provide for the superfluous. Government's job first is to provide for the necessities. I think it's critical that our infrastructure be rebuilt. I am looking forward to having a situation where I can be in office and we can turn around and start identifying priorities. I think having our roads paved is important. I believe having inspections of our restaurants so we know what we are eating is healthy, is important. I think having a competent consumer protection department is important. To make sure that we have a high public safety component. That's what we should be doing, and that's exactly what I'll engage in.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Mr. Freed, your take on Rockland County roads.
Connie, thank you for the question. I feel your pain. Driving down New Hempstead Road is just terrible right now, and I think it's taken a little too long. There are, the workers out there are working so hard to do it well, but they need leadership from government. But the bigger picture here in terms of dealing with our road system and our infrastructure generally is the fact that when you're driving your car, okay, Janine, you're driving your car. Do you care if you're on a county road, a town road, a village road? It doesn't matter. As long as your car doesn't fall into a pothole and you get where you're going safely, it doesn't matter to people. And, very often we see these territorial battles occur where, one municipality says, well, it's not my road, you plow it, you fix it, you expand it. That has to stop because we need to look at things collaboratively. Again, it doesn't matter to the public so long as it works, as long as the roads are efficient and safe. But I think you need that partnership every level of government.
Thank you, Mr. Freed. We have to take another quick break. We will be back in 2 minutes with more of our Vote 2013 election special right here on News 12. Stay with us.
Yeah, Lisa just wants you to, Jenna just wants you to talk to Scott to write as much as he can for the night shows now because we're not going to get out of here for a while. So she's getting worried about the 4:30 and 5.
When do I get home?
Stop it now. She's doing it. I don't know. I don't want to do that. Just tell him to start writing. Just start writing.
And we are back with the final segment of this Vote 2013 live debate here on News 12. Let's get right to another round of questions for the candidates. This time we're going to go back to News 12's Janine Rose. Her question will be for David Freed.
Thank you. Mr. Freed, earlier you praised the Cuomo administration for fast-tracking the Tappan Zee Bridge. The plan includes a high-speed bus lane, but no provision for train service because it was deemed far too costly. But given the growth of Rockland, Orange, Westchester, the entire Hudson Valley, and the need for a master transportation plan to connect everybody and get commuters who have to get into New York City down there, do you think that was a mistake or an oversight on the part of everyone who said we got to get this bridge built?
Well, I want to see a mass transit component with easy access to New York City. Mentioned earlier in one of the previous questions on economic development that our geography with the river makes it very complicated to get into Manhattan. And this project, I am hoping, as it continues in the coming years, that will be able to include increased mass transit. I have already been attending mass transit task force meetings with representatives from Rockland and Westchester. And what I observed in the last meeting was County Executive Vanderhoff as the representative from Rockland County, and there were so many other representatives and voices from Westchester. Now, no disrespect to my friends in Westchester, but the reality is that Rockland also needs to be represented in this process. There has to be a mutuality of investment and a benefit to each of the counties that the bridge touches. So, I realize the important role as county executive that I will play in making sure that the people of Rockland County have a seat at the table as these plans are developed. In terms of the bus lanes that you were mentioning, I also want to see plans from the county's Department of Transportation to make sure that we bring North Rockland into it as well. That's a major concern.
Thank you, Mr. Freed. Mr. Day, your take on the Tappan Zee Bridge and the mass transit component.
Thank you, Janine. First of all, we have to understand some dynamics here. 7% of our commuters go to Manhattan. The majority of people go to Westchester County. That's number one. Rail can be added to this bridge because it'll be built to accept rail, and because of the financial issues, it's a discussion for another day. I look at it this way. One thing that's talked about many, many times is how do we get people to the city? The best way for Rockland County to get their commuters who go to New York City into the city is on the west side of Rockland County. The access to the region's core ARC project was knocked by Governor Christie. That took away that one-seat ride notion. However, what's going on now is the number 7 train, which I actually take to work in Long Island City. They're considering extending it into Jersey, and the governor and the mayor both are not opposed to this. That would provide an opportunity for us to have rail with very little investment. It would serve Rockland County directly. It would be a quicker ride. Right now, if we have to go to Westchester by rail and down, again, having dealt with this and driving and taking train, it's a long ride. So, and I caution people, the New York Metropolitan Transportation Council has told me in direct questioning in the legislature that the main reason, the primary reason they want rail is really to service Orange County and an airport. Now, I am not going to work as a county executive and work contrary to the regional benefit that we have to have. However, I will keep the fact that Rockland County is my county, and whatever is eventually decided upon, I will look to make sure that Rocklanders are the ones who benefit the best.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Ms. Rose, you have a follow-up question now for David Freed.
Now, Mr. Freed, you and Mr. Day both expressed concern that you believe that Rockland may not be really getting full attention during this process. What would you do if elected to see that Rockland gets a seat at the table and that this bridge does work for the people of Rockland as well?
Well, I think that as county executive, it's going to be very important to build a smart administration. I'm not interested in hiring political people or campaign supporters and donors. That's not my style. I want to appoint a smart government because it will also help us cut the cost that the current government pays for these very expensive outside consultants on everything that every other county can figure out how to do these things for themselves, but we hire expensive consultants. Doesn't make any sense. I mention this because it is critical, absolutely critical, that the next Commissioner of Transportation be a strong advocate, understand not only transportation but economic development, and have access to the decision makers that are going to influence us. I am very fortunate to have the endorsement of Congresswoman Nita Lowey, who is our federal representative and the ranking member of the House Appropriations Committee. So I want to make sure to keep that relationship intact and strong, so we could also bring resources in financially.
Thank you, Mr. Freed. Our next question is going to come from Steve Posel, and it'll be for Mr. Ed Day.
Early in the Democratic campaign, David talked about reducing the size of the Rockland County legislature to 11 from, what do we got, 17, 18, 40?
40.
And I talked to Scott Vanderhoff on the air about it one time. He said he thought it would be very impractical because no matter what you did, Ramapo's representation would be weighted because they had the largest population. Is it possible for the legislature, and how could it be done if it were possible?
Well, first of all, there's been a lot of discussion. When David first introduced this, I actually said, David's not a legislator, I am, and I introduced it for a discussion item because David and his former opponent had quite a difference of opinion whether it could be done or not. I am not an attorney. I don't know whether it could be done, but I looked at it as a potential cost savings, and with that spirit, I introduced it as a discussion item in the legislature. It has not been heard yet, but I have no objection to any idea that may merit a savings to taxpayers, and that's why I introduced it. As it relates to what the impact would be, I also said at the time that I would support it only if we found that it was workable, only if we found we did not have a disparate impact upon minorities, only if we found we were able to comply with the court direction of one man, one vote, and equal representation amongst the towns. So with those provisos, I introduced it for discussion. As to whether it's feasible or not, I think that's something. That's why we have discussion items in the legislature. It has to be fleshed out. And I know there was a tremendous back and forth in some of the local papers between Mr. Freed and his opponent on that matter. So let the lawyers figure it out.
Thank you. Mr. Freed, your response about reduction on the county legislature.
Absolutely. Well, I'm happy that Ed supports the idea of shrinking the legislature. And when I made the proposal several months ago, I did it because I think that the highest levels of government have to show sacrifice. You can't keep going to the lowest levels of government, the people that are filling the potholes, processing the applications and social services, doing the work of government that people expect. They're the ones that have to sacrifice all the time, and that is wrong. It's not their fault. They didn't create the problem. The legislature and the county executive created the problem. So I think that as this government restructures, it can't just fall on the departments, the employees. It has to start at the top. And as I said, I'm going to cut my salary. I'm going to cut my office. The county legislature will do the same. Now, the mechanism for doing this is by public referendum. And as county executive, I will direct the county attorney's office to make this work. It's a simple process. But when I made the proposal, I also coupled it with a commitment to veto any legislative map that is drawn and gerrymandered, because I want to keep communities of interest intact and protected. That's the whole point of having districts, to balance power. And if the Rockland County Legislature draws a map that considers where the Democrats live, where the Republicans live, because they're trying to protect their incumbency, I'll veto it and speak against it. Very critical, because this is what shapes our county government. And there are other counties consistent across the state of New York that function with legislatures that are smaller than ours. We're a small county. We can do more with less.
Thank you, Mr. Freed. Mr. Posel, do you have a follow-up question? If you do, it's for Mr. Ed Day.
Is the legislature overstaffed?
Well, right now, the legislature has lost personnel. I know they've laid off some people. I will say this. Every legislator has, every constituent assistant handles 5 legislators. So we have one person who handles all the communications and contacts for 5 of the legislators. We have a press person. There is a financial analyst. Could we contract a little further? I think we might be able to. But there has been a contraction, and I have not seen the same contraction in the executive branch. That will happen come January 1st. I suspect either of us would.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Day. We're going to go to our last question. We're running out of time. It's going to come from Mr. Ed Race, and your question will go to David Freed.
Earlier you mentioned school taxes. Mm-hmm. School taxes make up more than 60% of what businesses and property taxpayers are now spending in Rockland County, and they're struggling with that. What exactly can a county executive do to impact that large percentage of their property taxes?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is what drives me crazy is when an elected official gets a question about another level of government and gives that excuse answer, which is, oh, that's not what I'm running for, you got to talk to them. Those days are over. We can't afford to have a county executive that's going to say, well, you got to talk to somebody else. I think that what you have to do is look at consolidation strategies, and not just with the school district, but with towns and villages as well, to see what is it that we can do administratively and internally to cut costs. I think that's critical. But I also think, again, that the economic development piece is important. I mean, if you bring ratables in, it's going to reduce the school taxes as well.
Thank you, Mr. Freed. Mr. Day, your take on property taxes in
Yeah,
Rockland.
it's interesting, and you can look this up. January 2006, when I was sworn in as a legislator, I said there should be no such, because I had the same situation when I went as a Civic Association president, going to find out how do we fix something. Oh, it's not a town issue, it's not a county issue. I said there is no such thing as a county issue, town issue, school issue. There are family issues, community issues, people issues, all that warrant the attention of county government. That is how I've conducted myself since I became a legislator. And that's the way I think we should approach governance. Try to find areas where we can share. Try to find areas where we can get things done. When it comes to our schools, that is a particularly sensitive part to me because of my involvement with the schools for years. I am very proud to be a PTA Lifetime Award winner based upon my service to our children in our school system. Like other levels of government, you have to engage, you have to see, you have to sit down, you have to take away the mystique and the aura of working together. That is a critical piece for a leader to do. That is something I will engage in. And I believe at this time in our history, given especially what the schools are going through, they're contracting the reserves. They really are having difficulty with the 2% cap because they have to go out to a vote at 60%. I think they would yearn for that type of approach right now. And I will look to go after any possible strategy that will improve a relationship and, again, reduce cost across the board.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Mr. Arce, you'll have a follow-up question for David Freed only.
Trying to reach that economy of scale, is there any way to get a county-wide school district? Rockland is the smallest county in the state, yet has 7 school districts.
Mm-hmm. It should be explored, but I'll tell you that, look at what's going on in East Ramapo. I graduated from East Ramapo School District, and what's going on in that district is an absolute disgrace and can't be tolerated. And one of the conversations has been, well, what about having a countywide school district or abolishing the district? I think that it's very important to not only have communication with the State Department of Education on all these issues, but with all of the superintendents of schools to make sure that there is a conversation. Again, these are issues that the public would have to vote on and that the State Education Department would have to be a part of. But no solution should be ignored. Rockland County not only has a deficit of dollars, it has a deficit of ideas.
Thank you, Mr. Freed. We are rapidly running out of time, so now we want to enter into the closing statements. The representatives from each of the campaigns recently chose the order that'll happen. David Freed will be first, and you will have 2 minutes for your closing statements.
Well, first of all, Ed and members of the panel, thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you for tuning in to watch us. This is a very important election. This election will shape the future of Rockland County. And I'm running for county executive because I don't think that you're getting what you're paying for. With the high taxes that we have in this community and the unaffordability that we have, I think that you should expect solutions, aggressive leadership, partnership, and an engaged county executive that will prioritize you and the solutions that you require. My opponent and I agree on many things and we disagree on many things. And the strongest point that I'd like to make is that consistently during this debate, my opponent has said on day one in office he will. Well, day one passed many years ago, and I believe that it is the responsibility of incumbents in county government like Mr. Day, like Mr. Vanderhoff, Democrat, Republican, have to work together and actually produce. That's what this election is about. It is a referendum on incumbents to see whether or not you are happy with the direction that this county is going in, or if you are not. Einstein said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting the results to be different. Whether it's our fiscal crisis, whether it's the disaster that we see in the East Ramapo School District, rampant overdevelopment, you have to have an engaged leader who will work hard for you. For those of you that support me, thank you. And for those of you that do not, I respect you. And for those of you that are undecided, I hope today's debate has given you the information that you need to make a good decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freed. Mr. Ed Day, you will also now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Thank you very much to all of you having this forum. It's very important. I believe very strongly the choice is very clear. You can have one person who has demonstrated management executive experience in both the public and private sector, has commanded police officers, has restructured a department in Baltimore, has helped his company through the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks. That's crisis management and executive experience. I have introduced 3 plans: an economic plan, making Rockland work again, righting our fiscal ship, and preserving Rockland in detail. They're on my website, electday.com, so folks can see them. I would think that your comparison is very clear. You can choose either that or one whose experience in his working life lies within 10 years of political jobs and no managerial experience. This stage of my life, I am simply looking at doing one thing and one thing only. I'm looking to give back to our families and our future. Much has been made of the politics in this race. My opponent's allies, not my opponent, my allies, have been speaking of party, not qualification. They've been speaking of agenda, not experience. By that measure, you can ask this question: would you rather have a moderate Republican who has served in his district, a Democrat 3-to-1 district, and been reelected by large margins every time, or would you rather have a person who is allied with a political machine in Ramapo and Spring Valley that is infested with corruption, indictments, arrests, and federal investigations? Either way, by affiliation or experience, I believe I am the clear choice, and I ask all of you for that support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Day. And candidates, we want to thank both of you for sharing your views during this election. Everybody has an important decision to make in Rockland County. Hopefully the voters now have a better idea about where you both stand on the issues as we head toward Election Day. That wraps up our Vote 2013 News 12 special debate right now. But we also want to thank our media panelists first: News 12 Hudson Valley's anchor and news director Janine Rose, Mr. Steve Posel from WRCR 1300 AM Radio Rockland, and Ed Arrace, the editor-at-large for HV Biz. Thanks to the 3 of you for your questions today. I'm Tim Cassidy. We want to thank you for watching, but we also want to remind you that you can continue the conversation on Twitter with us at #RocklandDebate. You can share your views on what you heard here tonight, and you can also continue the conversation as we head toward Election Day. And remember, join News 12 for complete Vote 2013 election coverage. That is Tuesday, November 5th. We will be live with all the local results and candidate speeches you just won't find anywhere else. More local news coming your way next.